Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Tool Talk on challenges in building tools for the electrical industry. I'm Nishant Kashyap, editor of Tagma Times magazine, and your host for today's session. We are honored to have special guest speaker from Schneider Electric, who will be sharing his valuable insights on and expertise on this topic. And as we know, since last few years, electrical industry has seen a significant growth. The increasing demand for electricity in India, driven by urbanization, industrialization, has led to the rise of for demand for production of electrical equipment and components. This in turn has created a lot of opportunities for tool makers as well. And to discuss more on this, we have Mr. Anand Wankhede, who is heading the tooling division at as Senior General Manager at Schneider Electric India. Welcome, Mr. Wankhede.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now may I invite Mr. Shanmuga Sundaram, Vice President of Tagma India, to say a few words about Mr. Wankhede.
Yeah. Good evening to everyone. On behalf of our Tagma EC members, I welcome Mr. Anand Wankhede. And Anand Wankhede is leading a world-class precision manufacturing facility at Vadodara as head tool manufacturing, engineering tooling solutions for Schneider Electric India Private Limited. Mr. Wankhede is an MTech in manufacturing from IIT Bombay with a diverse experience of over 24 years across design, production planning and control, precision machining and assembly of complex high-end products. He is an industry expert in machine learning, digitization, automation and human engineering. As a TQM implementer from the Deming Award-winning company and a Six Sigma Master Black Belt, he has been very successful in driving operational excellences for delivering exceptional performance. Thank you so much for this evening and spending time with us and the members. We want to hear from you, Mr. Anand. Let's start the session. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shan. And with a huge experience, I'm sure we are going to have a insightful conversation, Mr. Anand.
And also, I would like to share the members that Mr. Anand has said an interesting part. Schneider and Mr. Anand is ready to develop process for any of our tool room companies. Tagma will roll out a plan maybe in a week's time with the scope and the details. And thank you, Mr. Anand, for coming out with a proposal. Fantastic. Since you are many experience like TQM, Deming Award winning company, Six Sigma, Master Black Belt, really it will be useful to our members. We'll come out Tagma, we will come out with a clear plan.
Nice. Thank you so much. So shall we start, Mr. Anand?
Yeah. Before we get into this session, first of all, let me thank Tagma for inviting me here. I'll go back and thank Tagma again because Tagma invited me for International Tooling Summit, which happened in Delhi. I was one of the panel member. We were 5 people from the allied industry. We had around 45 minutes to around 5 to 6 minutes of time to share our views and thoughts. Today, I'm very fortunate that we have 1 hour.
Very nice.
And even if I'm not able to satisfy you fully during this 1 hour of conversation, I request you to get connected with me on my LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Thank you. So we can start.
Very nice of you.
Sure. So, Mr. Anand, you are our first speaker in Tool Talk history from the electrical industry. Earlier being, people from automotive, aerospace and packaging industry. So to start the conversation, let us know briefly about Schneider Electric and specifically the tooling activities that you are doing at your organization.
Okay. So to start with Schneider Electric, it's a French MNC. It is 28 billion euro company and globally present. 2020, the L&T's electrical and automation business, which was known as L&T Switchgear, is taken over by Schneider Electric. Because of that, now I am part of Schneider Electric. When we became part of this big ocean, I found that the tooling requirement of Schneider Electric is huge and say it is around 50 to 60 times than what I can supply to them. And as I mentioned, the Schneider is coming big in India. That is why they took our L&T Switchgear division. So there is a great opportunity available to Indian tool makers to look at how we can serve this tooling demand from India, because today it is being managed globally. So there is a weak scope available. Most important fact is I cannot tell you the exact value of that business because I still counting the volume, but it gives me confidence that if we take a small pie of that also, probably all Indian tool makers will have their pie. There are a lot of benefits working with the electrical industry that we'll discuss throughout this session. Yeah, Nishan.
Right, right. So as
Now,
I
now,
said,
now, this is just a minute. Now, this is about Schneider. Now, it is about my tool room. Our tool room parent body name is Engineer Tooling Solution. So we have two tool development centers. One is Ahmednagar, which is close to Pune city, and another is at Baroda, Gujarat. I am responsible for the second unit. Ahmednagar is a established tool room like last 20-25 years. It is in operation. Baroda to me is recent development. It's almost 8 years in operation now, and we have three satellite design department. Globally, any tool maker, if you find, they will be highly specialized in one kind of tooling, like injection mold or maybe sheet metal dies. In injection mold, maybe smaller component, maybe bigger components, so on. As a captive tool room, we have two responsibilities. One is to support new product development by designing, developing, and commissioning critical tools. And whenever this lifecycle management of our business demand increase in production, we need to duplicate the tools. I clearly said that we make only critical tools, not all tools. So these critical tools require specific maintenance services. That is our another responsibility. So for lifespan of that entire tool, we give a very high-end maintenance services. So since we are supporting new product development, we were fortunate to develop our skills in all aspects of tooling. If you say injection mold, compression molds, sheet metal dies, in sheet metal dies, stage toolings, progressive tooling, tooling for ferrous, non-ferrous components, so on. So I'm very fortunate that we got that kind of exposure.
right, right. Great, great. So as we know that the electrical industry in India is growing rapidly, what kind of opportunities it will create for tool makers, and how they can grab it?
Yeah, I just mentioned that Schneider is coming big way in India. And
Right.
I also tried to talk about the volume which may be generating. So there is a huge opportunity available to us. So there is no doubt about it. And there are many other electrical giants exist in India. And I'm sure many of you are interested to take them as your customer portfolio. So no doubt about it.
So you see that there is a huge opportunity for the tool makers in the
Yes.
electrical industry.
Yes.
Right. So, but as we know that the requirement of tool differs from industry to industry, and every industry will have a different set of demand from the tool makers. What kind of expectation the electrical industry has with the tool makers, and what is it like to design and build mold for the electrical industry?
Okay, so honestly speaking, as far as the toolings are required for electrical industry, infrastructure wise or resource wise, nothing different is required. What is required is a change in the mindset toward a specific requirement of electrical industry. If I compare myself with any good tool room or successful tool room in India, what I find resource wise and technology wise, they're at par. But what makes a difference between a tool room from automobile domain and electrical domain is the mindset towards the specific requirement of customer. Now, when I'm saying there are specific challenges when you try to build tools for electrical industry, there are two type of challenges. One is internal and external. When I'm saying external, the external is largely from customer driven and internal are purely operational. To give example of external challenges, uh, I've seen in past when we used to build electrical product, those were having a larger size, maybe 1 feet by 1 feet. But today the same product with higher functionality comes into very small packet, maybe few millimeters to few millimeter.
Okay.
This is one. Second is what another change I found is early the life cycle development of product was around 6 to 7 years. That means to launch new product, a company to take around 6 to 7 years. But today I have seen every alternate new products are being launched. So this basically puts a lot of pressure on tool makers, basically working for electric industry. One is products are shrinking, so compact, so hence very complex. Tolerance requirement are very high. Second is as a life cycle is shrinking, so delivery and lead time pressures. Technically, if we get into the comparison between the automobile industry and electric industry, I can give simple example. If we do 100 rupees of value addition in a tool, the 80% value addition comes from EDM technology, either spark EDM or wire EDM, and 20% largely for grinding, milling, and maybe fitting. When in automobile industry, probably it is exactly reverse. The major material removal or the machining process based upon the milling operation, and the remaining is the EDM and so on. This is one. Another technical challenge or change what industry tooling requirement for in electrical industry is the fitment and the cut bearings. Why? Because the products are shrinking. The product need to be very small, but need to be very rigid. So what we are doing in our product, we are using very high engineering plastics, which are very difficult to process. So process in the sense the processing parameters are very aggressive. So tool should withstand that. So for that, the cut bearings or matchings need to be very precise. So that calls for a different set of methods and methodology.
Right, right. So you say that EDM technology plays a huge role in electrical industry for building tools. Right. So you speak about the opportunities available in the industry and what it takes to build the tools for the electrical industry. Now let's discuss about the use case. Let's assume that I own a small tool room and I've been serving the automotive industry for like quite some time. And now because of the circumstances, I want to venture into the electrical industry. What should be my ideal approach to do that, and what kind of skill set and infrastructure will be required?
I think this is very, very important question for the today's gathering. But if I pick up this question correctly, the question says that my cup is already full and there is a new customer standing in outside my door and knocking. How do I serve it? Very simple. Obviously, you have to empty your cup. When I'm saying empty your cup, that means you should be ready to take up new challenges and to conquer the new challenges, new learning. So whatever help you to be successful in automobile industry, definitely that is needed. But over and above that, you need to change a lot of things. Now I'll say there are three basic pillar of any good tool room. One is the people, another is system, and third is the strategy. So the challenge is how you're going to have more and more people who will develop more and more good systems and will get aligned to the strategies. So if these three pillars are addressed, I think there may not be any big hurdle.
Okay. Okay. And what kind of, as in, you work with a lot of tool rooms across the country. What are those evaluation factor before you choose to work with certain tool room before, selecting them?
Yeah, see, we definitely believe in having associates because it is not advisable to do everything in-house.
Right.
So many people who are attending this session are already partnered with us. So I'll tell you the simple strategy what we adopted. Like we categorize our also suppliers or associates into three category: category A, B, and C. C category is basically suppliers who helps me to perform operations. Maybe a milling operation, maybe EDM operation, maybe wire EDM operation, and so that situation comes when I have bottlenecking at my shop floor. So that is category C. Category B is the set of suppliers to whom we supply the material and we expect them to convert that material to a product by using multiple operations, maybe combination of milling, EDM, and grinding, or so on. And the category A is the set of supplier where we provide them our engineering inputs, and they help us to get the finished part. So these are the three categories which we have. A question comes, you will ask me why you have these three categories. Why not upload everything to category A, suppliers? But honestly, when we started the sourcing activity, what we realized that we have very less competent people who can address our requirement. Like practically there were nobody who can fit into category A and B. So we started with people who understand what we expect from them. We started with them building relations. So category C people we identified, started working with them. We shared our know-how to build the expertise at their place. So slowly, few good category C people migrated to category B, and very few category B suppliers who were willing to invest as well as willing to learn next level of technology moved to category A. So it was a journey of around 6 to 7 years.
Okay.
So I'm sure when people are listening to me, they'll try to fit themselves in these three categories. So this is a broad classification we do. Apart from that, as any corporate company, we have our own selection process of vendor development, lot of technical forms, visits of purchase people, qualifying criteria, certification, many things come. But I think these are three broad classification what we have, and this is the way we expect our suppliers to get aligned.
Right. So you spoke about having set some management practices in your organization to carry out these operations. And I understand that Schneider Electric has a great tool room that can, carry out various type of electrical related tool operations. However, in your journey, what were the key challenges and how did you overcome it? If possible, if you can share some management practices you must have applied in your system.
In fact, this is very interesting question and very close to my heart. See, I've spent close to more than 20 years in this industry, and then I will split this entire journey into two halves. The first 10 decades, 10 years, and the last 10 years. So I'll try to explain you the scenario which we have faced. First 10 years, I was in an environment where my technicians, like machine operator, had 25 years of experience running the same machine. I had fitters who were of my father age. I had tool designers and engineers with minimum 15 to 20 years of experience and at least 1 dozen seniors to guide me. This was the scenario. That means those 10 years were ruled by experienced people. In 2012, I moved from Mumbai to Baroda to set up a where is the experience. So I tried to hunt people from market, but again, everybody will agree it is too challenging to get experienced people from the market. So what to do? So we started our own training school. So I run a training school where I index students from diploma colleges. We trained them for 2 years. The best of best people are absorbed as our employee, and rest of people are made available to our associates. Now you'll ask me a question: a tool room with trainees, whether it was successful, whether it was productive or efficient. Now today, whatever KPIs we have, we are actually reach those KPIs, and now we are moving towards the next level of performance. How it happened? As I mentioned, there are three basic pillars of any industry or any manufacturing industry: people, systems, and strategy. So we decided to focus on these three pillars right from day one. One more best thing happened to me. I visited Japan in 2008, and I stayed there for 1 month to learn the tooling industry in Japan. So visited more than 20-25 tool rooms. So when I visited those tool rooms, I found that very old people and very experienced people making the tools. And then I realized experience is the only solution to make good quality tools. But when I closely discuss with those people, individual people, I realize it is not experience. In fact, those people are the expert first and then their experience. Even if you go to Japan today and you visit any tool room, the tool room owner will be taking you to a chamber where he will try to show a certificate, or where he will try to indicate how many national experts he has with his shop. So it is not experience the expert. This was the one message I took from that 1 month of my stay in Japan. And when I came back, I decided to start building experts. Now, this is one strategy we adopted. I was fortunate of being part of a lot of training intervention. Now Sham talked about various certification what we have. Like 2019, we won Deming Award. Now Deming is the highest quality award in the world. Last week we won TPM Award. I myself a master black belt in Six Sigma. All these training interventions told that how to focus on manufacturing excellence. The challenge with these all methodologies is these are based upon the Japanese culture, the mindset of Japanese. Where in India, our mindset is totally different. So what to do? So what we did, myself and my team sat together and decided to convert that entire manufacturing excellence knowledge into modules, very simple modules, which will be acceptable to Indian mindset. So we developed 7 modules, which are nothing but template, which we have been using for last 8 years. It's a systematic template. Like the first module was how to build high performing team, followed by how to set responsibilities, accountability, and ownership in the team. Now, when I'm saying if you have more and more people who are taking the ownership, then I'm sure there is no need to have a responsibility and accountability matrix. Third is we said, okay, who will teach us? We are very young, because in tooling industry it is difficult to get the knowledge from outside. So we decided that our defect will start teaching us. So we religiously starting identifying our defect. Rather, we started encouraging our team to expose the defect and learn from it. So we came with the brilliant idea saying that, okay, we develop a template which help us to identify the template, categorize into 3 categories, whether it is a error, whether it is a mistake or a violation. I quickly talk about these 3 categorization of mistake. Error happens when there is no standard operating procedure. That means we focused on writing standard operating procedure for each and every process what we have. Mistake is you have a standard operating procedure, but there is a small skill element exists, and the person who is performing that skill, if he failed on that, you will get a defect. So that means you have to identify the portion of that SOP which required skill and start training people again and again till that his proficiency reaches to that level. And third is the violation. Now it is all about human engineering. A person at shop floor commits the defect not because he decided to commit the defect. He never comes to the organization with that mindset that I'll generate defect. So that means there is an environment around him which forces him to commit a defect. So it's the responsibility of senior management or senior people or maybe shop floor supervisor to ensure that the environment is given to that person who is performing that activity. He will not take any shortcut. Whatever is needed is made available. So there is no violation. Now this is what simple strategy we adopted and we started working on. One more thing, as I mentioned that I learned from Japan is, yes, experience counts, but expertise is necessary. So we started building experts in various operations. Operation wise, we have a verticals and we have expertise in the vertical. Another is, though since we are running the training school, the large operational workforce are trainees. So making very complex dies, how trainees can handle it. So what we started de-skilling the operations. Now this is something strange for tooling industry. Like we always say we need skill, and this gentleman is saying de-skills operations. So what we did, we started identifying the areas where we can do standardization, customization, and maybe a small level of automation. So we use this methodology to de-skills the operation. I think this is too technical, but again, I think there are two very important aspects on which we worked is the culture building. What is that culture is? Improvement culture. We started training people to use lot of tools and techniques to improve their performance. Maybe a 7QC tool, maybe chart sheet, or my Excel format, or Pareto, and so on. Identify problem, use a tool, solve problems. One more thing, business will be successful when the results are seen. So we have developed our own matrix to measure the commitment and their successes. So we have built review and commitment culture in team. Now all the 7 modules are basically is a template. It's a documented template where anybody can use that template to solve these challenges. And which follows simple methodology: learn, study, pilot, roll down. You start learning it because your problems are not unique problems. These are faced by somebody else. It is only your duty to find out that person who has faced the problem. So learn from them, learn from their successes, learn from their mistakes. Then study. His problem will be little bit different than your problem. How that learning will help you to resolve your problem. That will be a small study. And third is with that study, you rolled out a small pilot in the corner of your shop and corner of design department. Once it is successful, it's just rolled out. So it's a systematic approach towards the problem solving we have implemented.
Right. So I was listening to your answer and you emphasized a lot on the training and development, skill development. How do you rate the skill set of Indian tool makers? Do you think they are prepared enough to serve the demands of electrical industry in terms of skill set?
Yeah, many of my friends who will agree with me, like when they started their business as a proprietor, everything was under control because they themselves was involved in each and every activity, and probably they controlled the quality, cost, and delivery. As their size grew from few crore to 10 crore, 12 crore, the team size increased, and one fine day we found that okay, the control is losing. Now this happens. When the vets were handling this business, everything was fine. But more and more people comes in the business, it is difficult. So it is necessary for us to learn how to duplicate ourselves. So the only principle is duplicate. Now, why I'm giving this corollary? Because you asked me about what skill sets are required. Skill set exists. Anybody who is in tooling, it is only because of skill set, and another is the passion. So that
Right.
exists. But as business grow, how many duplicate you create, that will decide your success. How many people like you are creating in your business will decide the success. I think majority of us are facing that issue, that today we want to grow, opportunities there in front of us, but then how to grow, where are the high performing team? No, we don't have high performing team. We have resources, bank will give money, we'll buy the machine.
Right. Right. So let's jump to some technical questions now. So as we understand that a lot of electrical components are made of engineering plastics. So what kind of tool steel grades are mostly used in the electrical industry to make the tools?
Oh, it's not a simple technical, it's too complex question. Actually, if I start answering it, it will take 1 week because it's a metallurgy. But still, I'll try to simplify for benefit of everybody. So when we build tools for electric industry, there are two aspects of. One is the tool need to be very rigid because we are handling hygiene plastics, which require very aggressive parameters. As far as the mold is concerned, we use S13, and as far as sheet metal dies are concerned, we cold working steel. Now both are imported steels. Once upon I wish to import, but now today it is available locally. But the point what I'm to emphasize is all our tools are hardened. Like if it is a mold, it is heat rated to 50 to 54 HRC.
Yeah, yeah.
If it is sheet metal die, then it is heat rated to 50 to 60 HRC. So heat treatment plays very important role.
Okay, okay. Right. So we know that Schneider Electric has a large tool room, and in your answer also you said that you work with many tool rooms in India. And we know that in so many big companies, whether it's electrical industry, automotive, or any other industry, the companies are having their own in-house tool room for their tooling needs. So in your opinion, what will be the trend going forward for such large companies like Schneider Electric to invest more and more on their in-house captive tool room, or to fulfill their demand with the you know commercial tool rooms? What
Okay.
trend you see going forward?
So to answer this question, I'll just take you back, way back in 1965.
Oh,
1965, L&T decided to get into switchgear business, and they hire a consultant to build a case study. The first input from the consultant was, if you do not have tool making capability, it may be very challenging to establish a switchgear business in India. So the first few people recruited in L&T switchgears, they were recruited in tool room and they were sent abroad to learn the technology. So why I have shared this story with you, because at that point of time there were no good tool rooms, so practically there were no tool rooms who can cater to switchgear requirement. So we heavily need to depend upon imports, and imports basically largely from Japan and Germany. It's too expensive affair. Okay, so that is the reason why L&T way back in 1965 started a tool room. And this is true for all the automobile giant also. All automobile giants, they have their captive tool rooms, and this is the precise reason where they started a tool room. The point is, recently I shared with you that we have taken over by Schneider Electric, and the tooling requirement is huge. So obviously, what is going to happen? We are also going to grow as far as our footprint is concerned. There, my business is also going to grow. Okay, number one. But when I grow, and I made very clear that it is not advisable to make everything in house. You definitely need ecosystem around you, goods vendors support. We'll continue our categorization of ABC, add more and more people at category C, migrate more and more people quickly to from category C to B and B to A. Who knows when? Probably there may be situation where category A may further will grow and start supplying full tools to us. So this is going to happen. So both things will happen. One is every industry will increase the footprint of their own captive tool room. Plus, to support that expansion, you required increase or large vendor base. So both things will happen.
so you see that both things will go hand in hand, and there will be enough demand for the commercial tool rooms as well. Right, right. So, just few more questions from my side before we start taking questions from the audience. And to the audience, if you have any question, you can post those in the chat box that you can find in the right corner that Anand can address at the end of this conversation. So, Mr. Anand, my next question is: you have spent a lot of time in tooling industry, and you know the whole ecosystem. You have worked with many commercial tool rooms as well. You have set up tool rooms. So, as someone who has spent years in this industry, what are your expectations from the tool makers, Indian tool makers now, in terms of two things, that where they should grow, what kind of skill set and infrastructure they should be looking at, and second thing is in order to cater to the demands of the electrical industry.
Yeah, well, this question is not very specific to our tooling industry. In fact, it's very specific to entire manufacturing family in India. I said in past also, unfortunately, we have two viruses with us. The first virus is I know everything. The second virus is Chalta hai. So my request to all the friends, of course, we also had this virus with us, but we found it the correct vaccine for it. So my request is, first work on these two viruses. You should empty your cup and be ready to learn something new. Second is Telega is no more exist. Should be back to print. Of course, these are the strategies, skill wise and technology wise, machine wise. I think these are, even if these are challenges, these are short term challenges. But the long term challenges, as I mentioned, there are three critical pillars of an industry: people, system, and strategies. So you need to ensure that more and more people are aligned to your strategies. More and more people are involved into developing great system, maybe improvement initiatives or maybe expertise or so on. So the game is all about people. It is not about the technology. Technology, anytime you can buy, borrow, but people, it needs time and patience. You need to have proper methodology to grow your team in all aspects of your business.
Okay, okay, okay. So, while you are answering, I just thought of asking this, that you must have experience working with the, overseas tool rooms as well. Maybe from China, Korea, Taiwan, or Japan, you have already visited. So, what kind of fundamental differences you see while discussing with the, working with these overseas tool makers versus the Indian tool makers?
Yeah, one basic difference is infrastructure.
Okay.
Now, when I'm saying infrastructure, many global tooling industries works as associates. So they believe in something called cluster. They have ecosystem of cluster wherein we have individual performer like Hindi film ka hero. So he can fight, he can sing, he can dance, and he's a gold medalist from the college. So that is the challenge with Indian toolmaker because that ecosystem doesn't exist in India.
Right.
Uh, where many forums I was a guest speaker or maybe I attended. I heard many people saying that there is a need to build this ecosystem, but last 10 years I have not seen that is happening. Yes, there are few organizations like Tagma is spearheading this initiative. I think if we build that kind of ecosystem in India, I think we can become at least number two or number three tooling industry in the world. What we lack is this ecosystem around us. Of course, I will not speak about the government involvement in tooling industry. That is beyond my discussion point. But
Right.
yes, once the ecosystem is available, nothing will stop us.
Great, great. So just last question from my side, and I'm sure you have answered this in bits and pieces during your discussion. But what are your, five critical suggestions to the Indian tool makers?
See, like I was trying to check the list of participants. So what I found, few of our colleagues, like already people are associated with, we know each other. Few are the landmark and stalwarts of this industry, and few are basically our gurus. We learned from them. So these are all discussion. It appears to be like showing a lantern to a sun. So if you are asking this question, it is very difficult for me to say that this is what I'm suggesting. Or no. See, my entire effort was to share my experience in short period of time in sweet words. So that I've done it, but still I will again focus. We need to raise our bars. When we are saying raise our bars, look at the sun, start walking. Don't look at your foot because we have a bright future. And two, three things I said: empty your cup, change your mindset, focus on people. I think these are few suggestions. If you work upon it, it will show definitely some success.
Thanks. I think that's it from my side, and thank you so much for taking the questions and answering those, and also highlighting some of the opportunities available in the electrical industry. Now, let's start taking questions from the audience. First question I can see from Mr. Gopalakrishnan. I'll read it for you. It's which tool steel do you prefer normally for your electrical components as mold tool steel material, i.e. pre-hardened or direct hardened? And then
No,
there are a couple of more questions, but you can answer this here.
yeah. Okay. So I clearly said that when we build injection molds, we don't make proto tools. We directly make the production tools. So production tools, we expect very good life. I don't want to define the life. It depends upon the kind of component of the engine plastic we are using, but still relatively good life. Hence, all tool steels are hardened. So we use S13. I will not name the brand because it's not appropriate and take the name of the suppliers or
Right.
vendors in this forum. So that's why I'm using a generic that S13 imported tool steel hardened to 50 to 54 HRC for the molds.
Okay, okay. There's some follow-up question in the same question. Do you need to select these tool steel material as directed by your European head office? Do you see any opportunity to use high-strength aluminum that is being widely used in Europe as mold material?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we use high engineering plastic. Like recently, I came across thermoplastic with 60% glass field. So I'm not sure whether aluminum mold will withstand that. So, and of course, as I told you, 1965, we are in this business for last more than 50 years. So, of course, we learned from Europeans, but we built upon it. So, it is our own home ground knowledge and uh, technology which help us to build good quality tools. To give example, early in Powai, we had our own heat treatment facility. Okay, but today I found that there are experts available in industry who can do very good heat treatment, better than probably we used to do. So
Right.
it is available.
Next question is from Mr. Bhila Patil. He asks, how do you compare China versus Indian tooling industry?
There
Interesting.
is no comparison. Practically, there is no comparison because their scales are totally different than us. And as what they work, they believe in association. We unfortunately we do not have association. It may be our own problem or it may be an environmental problem, but we do not have ecosystem to address uh, the increasing demand on us.
Right.
So there is, I don't want to get into controversy by making statement China is better than India or India is better than China. Sorry. So, but scale is totally different.
Right, right, right,
People say if you want to tool in a few weeks, go to China.
right.
But I'm sure maybe next 5 6 years we will have good tool rooms here, which will quote their lead times in weeks, few weeks possible.
Okay, so we have next question from Mr. Pawan Yadav. He asks how we can train new students for mold design, which is very critical for critical mold designs specifically.
Yeah, training is again very close to my heart because we believe in training because people believe training is expensive, but I think not training is more expensive. So how we start training, because as I mentioned that every year my 50% of workforce goes, they complete their training goes and new 50% people come. So we are in continuous process of training people. So what we did, we documented our processes. Now, if this specific question is about design, then again, I'll suggest you go back and document your design process. You identify one of the best designer who is designing that tool. Ask him to document his process of designing a tool. Now that becomes something called standard operating procedure. When I'm saying standard operating procedure, nothing but the best process which will give best result. No, it is a process to be followed by everybody when developing the design so that every designer's quality will be the same. So you start with that. That becomes your training document. Start training people because you may have a good student, but if you don't have good syllabus, what are you going to teach them? So first document your process because I think whatever you're doing is a good. That's why you're in business. So first document that.
Right. I think related to the same question, there is one question from PSG College, I guess. I'm not able to read it correctly. He asks, what are the basic skill required for a fresher designers?
Basic skills required for.
Fresher designers.
No, you are using two words. So you are saying fresher and skill. Both cannot go hand in hand. So I will reframe this question. Probably what kind of qualifications required for to become a designer? Then in our case, when we recruit designers from professional institutions who gives tooling education. Like there are few institutes who are giving specialized training in tool and die making. So we take people, graduate, postgraduates, diplomas, and so this is the combination of people what we have.
Okay. Next question from Mr. Subhas. He asks, do you think the attitude is important and 5S necessary?
Oh, it's a very excellent question because when I recruited first set of people, day one, I checked only the attitude, not their skills, because I strongly believe when you take experienced people, they come with the baggage. So I always give weightage to the attitude. Then you can, once person has the attitude, you can mold the person the way you want. So absolutely no. 5 years, I think today for my team and me, 5 years is the foundation of our whatever we do. So even if we go home, I can give a lot of examples of 5 years being implemented at my home. So it's a way of life. It is not a technology.
Nice. Follow-up question from Mr. Subhas. As a visitor and observer, I have noticed that industries have good machines and people. Then what is needed then?
Oh yeah, this is very important question. In my shop also we have very high-end machines. So I never try to run the machine faster than what they can run. I always try to find out what is not happening around the machine. So that means there is a lot of waste around the machine. In any tool maker who's sitting here will agree to this point that if we calculate touch time of our tool making process, only 23% is the touch time. Rest of time is the item is waiting. Either item is waiting for the machine or it is waiting for the decision. So faster machines are not solutions. You start working on the eliminating the waste around the machine.
Okay, okay.
There are a lot of tools and techniques we implemented. I'm sure many people must have heard something called SMED, which is a methodology being used for production systems when same geometry part machined in multiple quantity. In tool room, we have used SMED to minimize the setup time. So we do setting outside the machine. So the machine is not stopped for setting purpose. So this kind of small improvements we have done.
Okay, okay. Question from Mr. Surya. Do you use Petra concept to train tool designers?
Come again?
The question says, do you use Petra, P-E-T-R-A concept to train tool designers?
No. I sorry, but I am not came across any such methodology, or probably after this session I will Google it and try to find out what is that. So I'm
Sure.
sorry, I cannot answer this question.
Question from Mr. Sanju Prakash. What do you find most frustrating about sheet metal tooling?
The sheet metal never listens to tool designer. You need to listen to sheet metal. Yeah, the biggest challenge is in our industry. Biggest challenge is inconsistency in the input material. Then the second is magical word called spring back. So spring back is not addressed by a technology; it is still a art. So
Right.
it's a trial and error. So, but it is not frustrating. It is if you are really a tool engineer, you will enjoy that. It will not frustrate you.
That's, I think, aptly put. So, a question from Mr. Avinash Sinha. What are the scope of switching to electrical tooling industry from auto tooling industry?
Yeah, please welcome. There are a few barriers I talked about it. Start working on it. It may take 3 to 4 years if you're not started yet. But at the end of fourth year, few basic things which I said, if you fix it, you are ready.
Follow-up question from him. In comparison to automotive parts tooling, electrical tooling cost remains on a higher side. He's questioning this. What characteristics of mold decide this factor?
No, I don't agree to this point because there is no applicable comparison of tools. One tool is 500 millimeter and another is 2 meter by 2 meter. Probably the cost will remain same because the kind of validation we do. As I told you, in electrical industry, the major validation comes from the EDM operations, and everybody will agree that is the slowest process, and a lot of prerequisites are required. So the cost of though the tool is small in electrical industry, the cost is governed by the validation being done. Where in automobile, probably it is a sheer size which decide the cost of the tool.
Okay. There are a few more questions, but we'll have to restrict to 5 more questions from here. From Mr. Sanju Prakash, is low-cost tooling by Indian tool rooms reducing the quality of tool making?
No, I think See, you develop a tool based upon the customer need. If customer demands you to make a low cost tool, you will make a low cost tool. I'm sure no tool maker is intended to design and manufacture and deliver a low cost tool when customer's expectation is high. So what we do is we reciprocate what customer is expecting. But
Okay.
I have seen many good tool rooms, they will not budge. They'll say, I'll make a tool in this way only. This is the cost, you take it or leave it. So they will not reduce the standard. I think that is the right approach.
Okay. What is scope of IMD in mold decoration in electrical switches and other similar products?
Can you come again? I missed that few words before.
What is the scope of in mold decoration in electrical switches and other similar products?
Okay, in electrical industries, there is very few applications where in-die design or textures required. But yes, if at all there is a texture, we go by EDM or we try to do it by chemical etching. But very few cases where we do chemical etching. Most of our texturing is done by EDM. But again, it is not equivalent to any aesthetics which we prefer or we expect in automobile industry. These are relatively low aesthetic surfaces, but that is textured with the help of EDM technology.
Okay, okay. From Mr. Suren, what are the technologies to be required in Indian press tool manufacturers to acquire new developments?
So it's like a big subject, but how to answer this question? I think you need to have very good strength in designing, because manufacturing sheet metal die is not a challenge. The question is how you anticipate before you start manufacturing tool, that what is going to happen once the tool is ready. Unfortunately, in injection mold domain, we have a lot of simulation softwares available. In sheet metal, other than forming a deep draw, we don't have simulation software. So it is largely driven by the visualization and anticipation of the designer. So I think the critical area is the design and engineering of sheet metal dies. So manufacturing may not be a challenge.
Right. Next question from Mr. Sumit Yadav. Good evening, sir. Happy to see you after a long time. My question is, in current scenario, Indian government is trying to build additive manufacturing techniques. So I'm trying to develop part forming areas of mold in additive techniques. It is only for proto molds because we need to develop new part within 24 hours. So can I do it in additive manufacturing? He's asking.
It's again a big subject, and many places I go and give lecture of 4 hours on additive manufacturing tooling. It's a long way to go. As you rightly said, now experiments are happening where people are using for prototype tools, or maybe some tools where people are experimenting with cycle time. But as far as the surface integrity is concerned, it's a long way to go. So yeah, it will take time. Research are happening, but if that happens, still you may not get that accuracy. You may get a shape, but finally you need to use some machining operations to achieve the final dimensional accuracy.
Okay, okay. From Mr. Sagar, is there export market for electrical components for Indian manufacturers?
All world giants are in India, so that itself is a big market. So if you make a tool here and supply component, probably that component will go into a product which will be exported from here. So today, every entire world is looking at India for supply to strengthen the supply chain. And as a tooling industry, I think we need to play a very vital role in that. So
Okay, okay.
yes, if you build those capability, why not? If you have world-class standards, you not to worry which corner of the world your customer sits.
Right, right. So we'll take two more questions from here on. From Mr. Subhas, is mold and press tool assembly drawing necessary in tool design and tool room, as we don't find this concept in majority places?
Okay, now I'll just read from this question. You are saying why tool drawings are required. It depends upon.
Yeah.
Correct. So you are the answer depend upon the what kind of setup you have. Okay. So if you are communicating your design intent correctly to manufacturing shop without 2D drawings, then drawings are not required. Correct. Because what is engineering drawing? It is a language of engineer, a tool designer speaking to a tool manufacturer in some language. That language can be a 2D drawing, it can be a 3D model, or maybe something else. So it depends upon the what kind of setup you have.
Right.
But I found slowly the use of 2D drawings is minimized. People are slowly moving towards the 3D. In fact, for my shop, practically the manufacturing happens with the 3D model.
Right.
But we do have elaborate designs also, because there are a lot of design intents which we mention in our design, which are achieved in the final stage of assembly. So that stage we required 2D drawing, but practically not required for manufacturing.
Okay. Last question from Mr. Krishnan. Has surface treatment on pre-hardened tools when processing glass-filled polymers attempted? Our research from lab trials shows surface treatment work better than hardened tools.
Okay, and again, this is a metallurgical subject. See, when I use word called hardened, it is not a hardness. When I say 50 to 54, this is the hardness at which we get the maximum toughness. So we are not only looking at the hardness, we are looking at the strength of the steel also. So when you're saying we are using pre-hardened steel with the coating, probably you achieved the hardness, surface finish, but what about the strength? So you need to weigh the situation, what your tool demands, whether your tool demands toughness as well as the hardness, or only hardness. Toughness
Right.
is not important. So you select based upon that.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. I think we are done with the questions we had. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today's tool talk on challenges in building tools for the electrical industry. We hope you found the session insightful and informative, and it was helpful for you. The discussion on design and building molds for the electrical industry has given us deeper understanding of the technical expertise and the infrastructure required to meet the demands. I would like to also thank Mr. Anand Wankhede, our sincere thanks to the speaker for sharing his expertise and valuable insight with us. Your contribution has been greatly appreciated, and we hope to have opportunity to work with you again. From me and everyone at TAGMA and the AC Council, I thank you again, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me and listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, and stay tuned for the next Tool Talk session. We'll get back to you
Bye-bye.
soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.